I'm very confused today. And there.
What you're going to do is option.
I'm not posing with that. I only pose with the big ones.
Release the big ones, you go for the big one. Okay.
How are you all?
Great.
Having a terrific time?
Yes.
You know what? It's my day off today, and because I'm doing a play here in Parramatta. And when I said to Dallas, I said, yeah, I've got Saturday off, Dallas. I said, where's the convention? He said, Parramatta. And I schlepp from Manly to Parramatta 6 days a week, and it takes me 2 hours to get here and 2 hours to get back, and lo and behold, here I am today. So I think I might move to Parramatta. Oh! Now give you a show. It's like somebody sent me some, I haven't seen some of the Doctor Who episodes for like, since I did them. That's an awfully long time. That's longer than most of you have actually been born. And somebody sent them to me. And so, can you hear me at the back? Yeah. All right, who can't? Who's the troublemaker? Can you really hear me? Most people say they can hear me. So, listen, I also want to know, those of you who live in Sydney, why didn't you come and see me in Hot Taps?
I did.
Oh, you did! One man! And you know what? Guess what I was playing in Hot Taps? You missed a little classic here. I was playing very short-sighted person who did things like I had to fall in a spa bath every night, right? Now, spa baths are jolly deep. And they couldn't put sponge in the bottom, right? Because somebody had to, like, stand under the shower, so the sponge got very wet. And so I had to fall into this bath every night, and I have to tell you, I have injured myself so badly, and I had to fall across the stage every night. I have been bruised from head to toe. And, but it was a great little play that we did here in Parramatta. Oh, by the way, I did get a great review in the Australian. It's all right, no, there's a gentleman here, we thought there was a reviewer in one night, and I said, oh God, I was bad tonight. I'm going to do, and I got this great review, said I was the best. It cost me a fortune to get that review. Anyway, guess what I'm doing now?
What?
The Removalists. Does anybody know David Williamson's The Removalists?
Yes.
Great, are you all going to come and see it?
Yes.
See, I didn't like that enthusiasm. I mean, yeah, I'll work hard out there. And this time I'm not playing a very myopic person, I'm actually playing a very nasty woman. Very, very nasty indeed. It's actually quite a violent play. So it's really not suitable for children. Jacob, you can't come. No, sorry, Jacob. Oh, it's so gorgeous. Just divine. In fact, Jacob would look so cute with his darling. Jacob. You want to come to I don't cry. Would you like to come and see the darling? Daddy, we want to look. Oh, he's heaven. Can we watching the kid? Oh, excuse me. I was quite clever for a minute, not her. Here you go.
Excuse me, Erin, salad.
There. You can come away from what? Come up here. Oh. Ready? Fancy.
Katie's going to auction the Dalek now.
I'm having a really bad day today. Nothing I did this morning worked. Just awful. Right, I'm going going to auction a Dalek. I'm going to, can I hold it up? Or is it going to be like a BBC profit black? Or even a BBC actor? Actually looks nice with basic black. A little too much for a drop earring. All right, now this, I think this is terrific. It is not too that we could use them as bookends. Okay, now where are we going to start? I think we're going to have to start behind it, don't you, Dallas? Give me a figure, Dallas. I'm just counting his fingers. Okay, let's, it just got cheaper a bit, Philip. No, we're going to start, let's start with 25. Let's build from 25. Oh, it's a little handcuff. No, it's a necklace. Oh, it's, I see, it's got dresses to go with it. Oh, right. Jacob is a star. That's last thing I'm saying. Yes, like that. Jacob's just put his hand up for 25 bucks. Service in no way. Come on, let's start then. 25. Gentleman with a green arm. Or it could be a lady with a dark chin. Sorry?
30.
30. Right, let's go from 30 to 35. Sorry? 35? Oh, well, let's go to 100. This man. Jacob reckons that was a really classy opera. Didn't you, Jacob? Yes? Did you think that was good? Yeah. Okay, well, let's go past 100. Let's go to 110. Come on, you can do it. Oh!
I think, was that 110 up the back there? Yes, it was 110 up the back.
110 up the back.
Wow.
All right, let's go right 120 up the front somewhere. 120. Terrific. Oh, listen, I've had such a bad day. Let's make it 130. Yes?
Yep, we've got 130 there.
What's your name, darling?
Jason.
Jason. Listen, Jason's getting very, so let's top Jason. Let's not do it.
He's not that.
Let's find out how rich he is. Okay, so where were we?
130.
130. 160 and I'll pose, but no.
Oh, no.
You don't know. I've slept all the way back around on my day. You did it. Actually, you know, Jacob could fit inside for his place in the car, couldn't he? Take the top off here, Jason. Sorry, I'm ready.
Jason's that way.
I can't tell the difference. Oh, you wondered. Okay, so where are we? Where are we in this bidding?
130 down the front.
130 down the front. How about something in the middle? You guys are very quiet in the middle. Very quiet. Come on. don't you think this would just look divine in the corner of the sitting room?
Top of the TV?
On top of the TV. You could use it to hold paperweights. Come on, let's go a little bit higher. A little bit higher.
140.
140.
100. Wait, Jason, you don't work hard. 150. Okay, let's go a little bit above 150 because it's jolly well worth it. Yes, you see, he knows, isn't it? What do you reckon? Should you say 160? Next on his back Jacob reckons 160 would be getting fair.
160. In the middle.
In the middle, at last, we've woken the little Rosa.
160.
160.
180.
This man is not going to eat for a week. Do you live locally? Nearly. Oh, that's all right. We don't want him to live it. All right, now Jason has gone to 180. Who would like to make this man's day very difficult?
Come on, you don't want to be known as the person who didn't get the Daleks from Kate.
That's right. Come on. Come on. There's somebody there. He's calculating his bank account right now. He's going to pay the rent. I'm going to do the shopping. I'm going to pay the electricity bill. And there's probably about $200 left over to buy a Dalek. I mean, as I was walking around Coles this morning, I said to myself, now, what is not on my list? And I'm holding it right here. Oh, and if we make it $200, I promise I'll go home and then you can all relax.
I think it's...
I thought that would work today.
181. Being desperate. 185. $180 going. I mean, nobody else. Now, just think about this. Otherwise, I'll be forced to start telling you stories. No, because I've got another few hours. Alice will let me go back to Manly. In fact, I might stay the night for the rehearsing tomorrow. In fact, who would like to hear my lines today? Because there will no one able to learn my lines. How about you? You need to dance for us, because we're about to say 3 times. Jump 3 times, and then we've got... You love dancing to the big section.
We're now going to go... Ready? 180 going. Once. And twice. 3 times. Yay! And Jason has bought it for Jacob. Isn't that This is my impersonation of everybody from E Street. And of course my name has to be Melissa something.
Right, well that was the end of the auction. That's part 1 of the auction. More auction tomorrow. We move on to our next part, which is the panel with Katie and our other guest, Mark Strickson.
I'm also called on it. Actually, the story about that is, I did a documentary, it was in Newcastle, and we had this, if any of you were there, we had this medieval evening, and they rang me up and said, would you mind dressing up for the supper? I said, no, not particularly, if everybody else is doing that, that's right. They rang me about 2 weeks later and they said, have you got your own tights? Yeah. I don't quite know what they think an actor's life is like. I think I get up in the morning, I put my tights on, swing at the bar, a few exercises, and then a bit of Shakespeare, and then I put on my normal clothes and go out the door. Well, I don't do that, actually. They have to provide tights for me. However, from that, you may well guess that I actually do some acting still. And I also teach in the drama department at the University of New England, and I was doing a class there, and a lady came up to me afterwards and said, I think I know who you are. And, she said, are you the Mark Strickson? I mean, you were in Doctor Who. And I said, yes, I was in Doctor Who. She said, oh, I think you might know my dad. His name's Tamm J.Troughton. So I have a surprise guest for you, one of my greatest, my best students, I have to say. So can I introduce to you Pat's daughter, Tamm J.Troughton? You can meet in the middle of Australia. First met our dad in Chicago, and then in Armadale.
Downtown Armadale. Well, I can boast about having my own pair of tights, but that's about all I do have, so I'm just terribly, terribly happy to be here, share this with you. It came completely out of the blue to me. Just bumping into Mark at Armadale was, I just couldn't believe it. You know, you sort of go back 20, 30 years and you wonder if these people are still alive, but they are very much so.
Only just some.
It wasn't that long ago for me, Jack.
And I was just very lucky to be born into the family that I was, and I found myself here in Sydney, Australia, and this is my home now, and it's just really great to be with you all. Thank you.
Can I just tell you a story?
Another one.
No, at least I have to say this now when it's in my mind. It's me. I was madly in love with your brother for a very short period of time. I just had to say that David Troughton, who did an episode of Doctor Who with us. Are you still with me at the back? Who did an episode with us called the something of Peladon. And I remember it was one of those things that he walked into the room and I went, boing! Yes. And was very drawing. Yes. Terrific drawer.
He's actually working on television.
I see him.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've been thinking right now.
Excuse me, I just want to say.
Well, ladies reminiscence about Mark's reminiscence on Park Omnibus newspaper.
My reminiscence is, do you think I need this? Right, there we are. Can you hear the back? If I just hear the back? Right, that's going to be much nicer for you. My reminiscence is... Have you is that going through? Something's happened with this microphone since you walked away.
No, wait that much. $92,000 worth.
Hello. I'm turning the other way and it's working, never mind. My first memory of Pat was, I was talking about this to Mary at lunchtime. I first met him when we did a convention in Chicago. And we went over on the same plane together, and I found myself in the back of a big stretch limousine with Pat. And I'd never met him before at all, but we both knew each other. We'd actually sort of crossed paths and been introduced, but we'd never met. And he'd travelled first class, and I'd been in cattle class going over, but we hadn't met going over on the plane. So we got off into this big stretch limo, and apart from anything else, neither of us could believe that there was this great big car that had come to collect us. You know, these two little actors getting off from England, and suddenly there's this great big car, and we sat in the back of this, and it was night time, and any of you who've been to Chicago will know that it looks like the most marvellous set from any American film at night. The skyscrapers have big chunks cut out of them, and it's a fantastic panorama of lights at night. And Pat looked out the window, and I looked out the window, and he turned to me and he said, "Mark," he said, "I think we're going to be needing some of this." And he got a little flask of whiskey out of his pocket. And he was dead right. We didn't need a little of it, we needed a lot of it. And our friendship grew over those 3 years. And I saw him lots of times after that. I seem to remember when I was doing Five Doctors, I didn't see him very much because he was a keen bird watcher. And I didn't have many scenes with Pat, and we'd be in the hotel and Pat would leave dressed in, well, sort of browns and greens with bits of shrubbery poking out of himself, you know, fully clad camouflage for the day's event. And he went off bird watching. Yes, so I have very, very happy memories of Pat. He was always very kind to me as a young actor, and very humble as well.
Never one to not treat you exactly the same, or if you were being treated in any way differently to him, then he would say something about it. And that's something I greatly admire in actors.
Nice for that. I have to say, I've known Pat for years because we worked, we did a play together years and years ago. And then, of course, I did The Three Doctors, which was with Pat and William Hartnell and John Pertwee. And I think we laughed solidly about however long it took us to shoot Three Doctors. I mean, to do Three Doctors. I mean, we just laughed solidly. I mean, it was one of the funniest men. And very naughty sometimes. Yes. Very naughty. Nicely naughty, I mean, you know. And, I mean, really.
I know Pat's up there watching me. I'm being careful.
Well, listen, I'm not planning to go there for a while, so I think I can say anything I like. No, he was one of the loveliest, and as Mark said, he was a very generous actor. And not only did but he was also a terrific Shakespearean actor, which is where we actually first encountered before we got into Doctor Who together. So yes, a lovely man.
Which is them, I guess we should say. I mean, Janice, what were your first memories of Doctor Who?
I was always totally embarrassed by having this father who used to walk around London with a following of small children behind him. And I think it was one of the ideas when he had the recorder that it reminded him that he was actually a Pied Piper, because wherever he went, there was just a stream of young children. But unfortunately for me, it all happened at the tender age of sort of 12 and 13, when I was just totally embarrassed about having this member of my family, my dad, as someone who was referred to as Doctor Who all the time and laughed at a lot. My dad was a very generous man, he was a very kind man, and he was the greatest practical joker that I have ever come across. And on my way here today, I was trying to think of things that I could tell you, and it all seemed very bland, and you look back and they're funny at the time, and you think about them, and I thought, no, I can't tell that, or I can't say that, that's too awful. But I will never ever forget the morning that my A-level results came in. It's like the high school certificate in London, and you sort of sit and wait for them, and you've worked 12 years for these wretched things, and they come in this brown envelope, and he came up to my room with this brown envelope with a Barnet written all over it, and I'm sort of trembling in bed, and he handed it to me, and I opened it up, and there was nothing in it. And I just sat there and I thought, my marks are that bad. And of course, Dad had got the postman earlier in the morning, taken them out, had a good look at them, decided that they weren't as bad as everyone thought they were going to be, and gave me the envelope. And that's the sort of guy he was.
What sort of guy? The sort of guy you take letters out of envelopes. Right.
You talked a bit about what sort of guy Pat was. As you were at that age, and there was a fair amount of location filming while you Doctor Who, did you actually go on location Doctor Who filming?
Never.
Never?
Never.
You didn't get to the wilds of Wales?
No.
Frozen?
You only do that if you pay.
I actually went through a stage where I pretended that I was not related to him.
I mean, I don't know whether it was because I'm an actor, or just because I'm their mother. They deny me regularly.
Right. Well, we've talked about three doctors, we've talked about 5 doctors. They're the 10th and 20th anniversary programs. Of course, this is the 30th anniversary program coming up, and this is the 30th anniversary. Do any of the 2 guests here want to talk about if they've been involved or have been contacted or what's happening in regard to the 30th?
I wasn't contacted, but I have the reason I know why. I was in England about 18 months ago, and I was contacted then, my agent was contacted, and the dates that they already had I can't do. So it's just one of those things. It's right in the middle of the university term. I'm in the 3rd year of my degree, and although I would love to do it, even if they had contacted my agent in London, they wouldn't have got back to me again, because I've given definite dates where I can't work. Obviously, it's a pretty important time for me. I made a decision to do a science degree. It's my final year. I've got my final year exams coming up, So it's a pretty tricky time for me to take God knows how long off. I mean, you're going over, aren't you? How long is it taking?
Well, listen, I mean, the only reason I'm still here is because it's such a long journey. It's true. I mean, it's the most truthful thing I've ever heard. The reason you stay in Australia is because it's such a long way. You get, oh, I can't be bothered to schlep back now. But no, I've been back a lot. But I am actually going. I finish here the day before they want me there.
Whoa.
So I should be going in with eyeballs hanging down to me toes. Someone is saying, oh dear, she doesn't look well. We shouldn't have had her back. So I'm literally going to arrive, having finished the remove list, which I say I'm going to come out of fairly shattered, I think, and go and do that. And then I've got to come back here again because I have literally just enough days to go do it. And come back and start work here. So it's going to be a very exhausting time, but I think it's worth it, because I've literally got 3 days that I can do, but that's all I can do. So I'm really looking forward to that. 3 days, it'll be very good.
And have you got a script or anything? Do you know where they're filming it? Something like that?
Don't be silly. I never had one when I did Doctor Who. They used to try and keep me away from vacation by not telling me where they were going.
The Night Doctors, I remember that I went up and did that, and in the middle of the Welsh countryside, and then I went off in the car for a week's holiday. And they tried to follow me around the country to the point of putting it out on local television, on local radio. What had happened was a thing called a hair on the gate. They got the film and produced it, and there was crack. The cameraman, whenever you finish filming, they say check the gate. Before anybody moves, check the gate. And that means have a look in the camera and see if there's a piece of fluff on it or anything, and see if we need to do it again.
Other than the actress.
And they checked and they thought it was alright, and it wasn't, and so they searched me around the country, and I eventually ended up at my great aunt Barnett in Stratford-upon-Avon. I've been staying in some really weird and isolated places, obviously. She said, do you know they're out searching for you, Mark? And I had to get straight in the car and go up to Wales, so the whole crew was waiting to shoot all this, and we're just waiting until they get in touch with me. Oh yeah, it's pretty hairy sometimes, Doctor Who.
They left me in a mire once. They did. I think they were trying to tell me something for years. But when they actually, I found myself started up to my knees in mud, on like these wooden boards, in all this mud, right? And they said, we're just going to get the doofa-doofa. Now there I am, without my glasses, with all this stuff bubbling up underneath me, all this thick, spongy mud, right? And I'm there, and slowly I thought, that's funny. It's gone past my knees. It's now got to my waist. And they still haven't come back with the doofa-doofa, right? And
I'm doing special effects.
and the noises. And then the next thing I know, it's up to my armpit. And it got to here, and they came back with the doofa-doofa, and they said, oh, we forgot all about you. And they just left me in this mud, just sort of blobbing around. But I still wouldn't leave.
Both of you as companions haven't been actually companions to a Doctor by yourselves. There have been a group of people involved, other companions and units. Do you want to talk about your involvement with other people in Doctor Who? The other people who made up the companion group, your time? Mark?
I'll get Janice a question first of all. Do you remember any of the people from Doctor Who sort of coming to your house or anything?
I did remember Salamander, but I don't remember his real name.
Anybody out there? Come on, trivia question.
Salamander. Who was
Salamander?
Yeah.
Yeah, but who's the actor?
That was your dad?
It's just you didn't spend a lot of time at home. we had a home where people were in and out all the time, and I really honestly didn't take much notice of it. I used to wear his fur coat a lot. We went to college and we used to have fights over it. It was left to a boyfriend or something like that because he wanted it desperately, and we both fought for that. I think we both did look like Yeti when we were in it. No, I'm sure it was Salamander, and he was not my dad.
Right. I was going to give you a prize as well, but you got now.
I can't remember the question now again. Other people
involved. Other companions.
Other companions, what about them? What about them? Did I like them? Did I get on with them? Well, I'm actually at this moment staying in a hotel called the Russell Hotel, and the reason I'm staying there is just down on the rocks. I'm just down for a couple of days. There are other things to do. But the reason I'm staying there is because Sarah Sutton came to Australia, and she stayed there. And she said it was very nice with her husband, so that's why I'm staying there. I usually stay in a hotel in Bondi as it happens, but I went to the opera last night, so I wanted to be near the opera house. So I get on very well with Sarah.
I'm glad you said that.
That's what I'm saying. The reason for that is because Sarah came out to see me, so I get on very well with Sarah. And a funny thing happened to us. We were in a National Trust building. We were at a National Trust building outside Armadale, and suddenly this guy jumped out from behind the bushes and said, "Excuse me, are you Mark Strickson?" So I said, yes. He said, "Can I have a photo of you? I'd love a photo of you." And so I sort of stood there, and then he started talking about Doctor Who, and we took the photo. And at this point, Sarah was absolutely petrified of the insects in Australia. She had a potty by her bed because she would not go to the toilet at all unless there was somebody around to guide her to the bathroom in the night or anything like that. She was petrified of spiders and snakes, and she had this big straw hat on.
In a hotel.
We're in Armadale now.
Blinding her eyes. Cockroach, maybe.
So she had this big straw hat on and a big fly net, and the guy didn't recognise her, and I wasn't going to say, "Look, this is Sarah Sutton." I just didn't think I could do that. So this guy missed the chance of a lifetime, walking around the gardens of a National Trust property in the middle of Australia, and there's 2 Doctor Who companions going around. So I see Sarah. Janet I write to, and we correspond. I saw her last time. Actually, I didn't see her last time I was back in England. I was back in England 3 months ago. And I didn't see her, but I saw her the time before that. John Nathan Turner I write to a lot. Peter I don't see. I got on perfectly well, had a good working relationship with Peter, but never a social relationship. Nicola, again, I didn't work with her for very long, but we got on very well when we did. And I saw her in England, but she's just sort of, I haven't written to her and it sort of dropped by. But as I always say, one of the best memory I have of Doctor Who is the people I work with. They were lovely.
Well, I didn't. I mean, I've been learning too many lines recently. I'm really confused. I didn't really have another companion because, in actual fact, I've forgotten his name. Richard Franklin. Right. Richard Franklin, who played,
Quiz question, just pretend it's a quiz question.
quiz question. Mike Yates, I knew that. Right, and was sort of going to be, but when we actually came to doing it, it sort of didn't work. Do you know what I mean? So he sort of hung out with Unit and Benson and the Brig. So I had Unit, but I didn't have anybody else. It was sort of me and John and I, us. And so, and it was a lovely, lovely team, but I didn't actually have another companion. No, I never did any stories with Mike Yates. He just used to pop in and pop out. But we never really did anything together, because I was always with the Doctor. If you actually, I mean, if you think about it, that's true. Because they were actually going to pair us off, and it somehow, when they saw it, kind of how it looked, we just didn't pair off right. I paired off better with the Doctor than I did with Mike. So that was how it was with us. But like Mark, I mean, just the best people. And the best people that come in and do the stories. And of course, I'll be honest with you, I was very lucky. Because I got those wonderful years with Roger Delgado. And, you know, for that I shall be forever grateful, because he was just the most wonderful man. He really was. I loved my time. I had a ball. I had a great time.
Janice, although we haven't talked about companions, you say you don't remember them much. Any of the people like Fraser Hines, maybe? Does that name ring a bell?
Names certainly, yes. You know,
Right.
Mark sort of said things to me in the past 2 years I've known him, and I think, gee, yes, of course. But as for faces and personalities that you can remember sort of coming and going through bottles of whiskey late at night, no.
Why don't you remember?
Sitting at the top of the stairs listening.
Yeah.
But, no, I'm afraid what was happening in my life at that time as a 13-year-old was a lot more important.
Yeah. Yeah.
Had I been younger or older, I would have got a lot more out of it.
Well, I can tell you about that young man you just mentioned.
I can get a bit about Fraser as well. Fraser is a great mate of mine. We met through Doctor Who working in America, and we ended up doing cabaret acts together, amongst other things. My ex-wife, Julie, who most of you have met, was in soap opera with Fraser called Emmerdale Farm, which Fraser's still in. Yeah, Fraser's still in Emmerdale. I don't know what's happening to Fraser. Fraser's still in Emmerdale. He's living in Yorkshire. He's about 2 years ago, he married again to a water skiing champion, English water skiing champion. And he's got race horses and he's very happy. That's about sums up Fraser at the moment.
You wouldn't say nothing about it.
Oh, no. I'm going to keep Fraser's name nice and clean. I'll auction it.
Right, we've
Right, give out the story.
I'll tell you a story about Fraser. Fraser is a great practical joker, and we did these whole series of panels in America, and it was me and the girl companions. I would be there doing the job Dallas is doing, and leading these panels with 7 girl companions. I had all 6 on gone out anyway. I was surrounded by women. It was really rather wonderful. Happy days. There was a certain person on this panel who would give incredibly complicated answers to very boring questions. And the question would be something like, can you tell us what your character was thinking about? And we always thought this person was a plant. You know, they knew she was on the panel and they just wanted to make life hell for the rest of them. And this particular person, who will remain nameless, went on for about 25 minutes, equally boringly answering this very boring question. and I stopped and I said, right, can we move on to the next question, anybody? And a hand went up at the back, and I said, yes sir, at the back. And this little voice started going, excuse me, but I've only just come in here. Could the last person answering a question please repeat it for me? Because I only came in on the end. And I sort of just, I said, I think perhaps you better ask somebody else in the audience. And then Fraser stood up. It was Fraser at the back of them. He'd learned, I think, from Janice's dad, Pat, what practical joking was like. And Fraser is an horrific practical joker. You are never safe if you are near Fraser, I need to tell you.
When I see you and the odd other person, which I haven't really, John Pertwee, I think is the only other person I've actually seen from Doctor Who, and you talk about your American trips. They're these wonderful, you had the great time of going with all these people. I have only ever got sent there alone. Truly. I know. And I'm beginning to get really worried about it. Because I was sent off to do 14 cities in 14 days alone. I mean, the same, you know, you get all the wonderful perks that Mark's told you about, you know, you get your chauffeur driven thing. But I had to do those things alone. Why did I have to do them alone?
Not rich enough.
I want an answer, and I want it now. Because they say, oh, we had such fun together, we were all there out in America, and I'm there on me Todd. Dealing with all those questions like, what were you thinking about when you answered? I don't know, who am I? And it's, I guess because maybe
you can cope on your own.
Yeah.
That's right.
We've got Katie. Who else do you think? There we are.
Now, I think actually the truth of the matter is nobody else wanted to work with me.
I don't think the same is true in England. You've been to one convention in England, you're going again, aren't you?
I was on my own at that one.
Were you?
Yes.
Have you been told what's happening with the one you're going to?
I'll probably be on my own. 30 years of Doctor Who at Hammersmith, and all the Doctor Who people are at Hammersmith Odeon. I'll be down the road in a church hall on my own.
Right, well, I think we've covered everything from the floor here. We'll ask some
Now we
questions.
can stand up.
Let's get some questions from the audience, please. I can't see anyone.
Question for Mark. Did you do a site career because you couldn't find that out?
The question was...
Well, they raised my question.
Yes. The question was, did you do a science degree because you couldn't get enough acting work?
It's a perfectly reasonable question, and acting is a very difficult and hard profession. I was very lucky. I had a very good run for my money, and all the time in England I was a good jobbing actor. And I was also married to an actress who was a good jobbing actress, and we did fine. And I worked until 10 days before I left. Why did I leave England? I think what it boils down to is why did I leave England? I left England because I was commuting up and down to London. I just couldn't stick it any longer. I felt caught in a trap. I felt that I was 29 years old, and this was going to be my life for the next 40 years. I was an actor. I was just going to keep doing this, and I was bored stupid. We didn't quite know what we were going to do, and so we thought either America or Australia. We came to Australia, and we sorted ourselves out here. I had not had a television for the last 4 years of living in England. I wasn't interested in watching it at all. Bought one when we were in Australia, and we started watching lots of wildlife programs. And I ended up doing a science degree. I'd never done a degree. I mean, I went to the Royal Academy, and I thought if I didn't do it now, my brain would probably never resuscitate enough to do it. And I'm very glad I did it. I am going back to England in 18 months' time. They are shock horror pro. Yes, we do. I don't know I'm going for good. Why? Because I met an English girl who I'm getting married to, and she wants to go back to England. My girlfriend's a doctor of botany. She came over to head a project on seeds in Australian wetlands, and her family live in England, so we're going to go back to England. Well, my family live in England, but anyway, we're going to go back to England. I mean, initially I will act again because of money, but my aim is to get into BBC Bristol and make, or one of the television companies, and make documentary programs. On a more serious note, the reason why I did it was, I was saying this, everybody thought I was mad when I was an actor. They thought I had a big mental problem. Okay, now guess is what it was. I used to be really worried that the end of the world was coming to an end. I was much more worried than that. I thought I was the only person who thought it. And my mother asked me, my dad's a musician, my mother asked me not to talk about these things because it was depressing. And I honestly did think I had severe depression setting in. And since I got to university, I realised I'm not the only person who thinks what I was thinking. I was absolutely right what I was thinking. It was just because I was reading books other people in the arts weren't reading. And it's focused on other things for me. And what I hope to do is combine the 10 years of acting with the science degree and go back to England and work. Understand the script. Now, I have written for you a 1-hour script, right, which I'm going to do this afternoon. I've never tried to write a piece of science fiction before. This is a first off for me. However, I was looking through some old books, and the first thing I looked upon was wrong. And it was a major thing in Doctor Who. It was scientifically wrong. But you'll have to wait until 4 o'clock to find out what that was. And the whole story is based upon the fact that that was wrong. So, yeah, I mean, now, I couldn't even use a pocket calculator when I was in Doctor Who. But, yes, now I've come back to it in a whole different focus.
Let them talk about themselves.
Sorry, I was just trying to do that.
I will most have just asked Kate the same sort of question, living in Australia.
What? Why am I doing a degree?
Why you left England? Why did you come to Australia? And why are you still here? Why has England called you back then?
It has. I did come here for a very good reason. And I usually make very light of this answer, and I joke about it and things like that. That is my way. But in actual fact, there's a pretty serious reason why I came. It was the survival of my twins, who are extremely premature at £1.8 and £2.2. This is very small. And they're still very small. JJ's 15, he's a bit, no. And they were extremely ill. And there was really no choice. If I hadn't come to Australia, I doubt very much if Georgie would have in fact survived, because she was then, after they came out of incubators and things, they were very, very sick, very sickly children. And then they got whooping cough, and Georgie was just wasting away. It was that simple. And of course then after that, when she came out of hospital, everything that she got wrong with her, she got it like really badly. And she was constantly in hospital, and JJ wasn't far behind. So that's the most serious I've ever been on that. It was for my children. In actual fact, that was really tough for me, because I was giving up a really good career. I gave everything. I just left. I just packed my suitcases, and I arrived in Australia, and I knew one person. And so it was an extraordinary experience for me, but it also taught me a lot. I'd always had everybody do things for me. I mean, I had no idea of whether I had the ability to bring up 2 children on my own, which is what I've actually done. And I discovered by coming over here and not knowing anybody that I was much stronger and much more capable than anybody had ever let me believe. People had always said, no, darling, we'll do it for you. No, you're not really very good at that. No, we'll take over there. And so my life had been run for me as an actress, as everything. So it was the most wonderful thing that this country did for me, was made me realize that I was actually very strong and very capable. For that I will be eternally grateful. However, I do like to travel a lot, and I am going to be floating in and out, but Australia will always be my home now. There's no two ways about that. But I think I will be disappearing from time to time, but I will definitely always come back, because I love it here, and I now have lots of lovely, lovely, solid friends. And I feel very much a part of this country. My children have been educated here. And so they feel very Australian. And but I will be going back to London. I have got all sorts of little ideas and plans and plots and wheezes with all the little things that I'm doing. And I'll be going over to the States for a while again too. So, but no, Australia is my home. So you can't get rid of me. Gosh, that was really serious, wasn't it? I'm going to have to lie down now.
Right question. We've got gentleman there.
Question for Mark. The program mentions that you have trained in armed and unarmed combat. Tell us about that.
The question was, Mark's trained in unarmed and armed combat. Would you like to talk about it?
I don't mind. So I'm associate of the British Society of Fine Directors. When I was at school, my school fencing team beat the British Army fencing team. It wasn't because we were all so talented, it was because our school woodworking master was the British Olympic fencing coach. So we had the best coach in the country. So initially I had a very strong interest in sword fighting, and then when I got to RADA I worked with a guy called William Marshall and Bill Hobbs. Bill Hobbs is probably the most famous fight director in the world. If you ever seen a film called The Duelists, that's Bill Hobbs. And I just had an enthusiasm for it and kept going, and got all my qualifications. It ended up that I was able to do stunt work and all those sorts of things, which I don't do anymore. It's too dangerous. There is no way when you do stunts you don't get hurt. Honestly, there is no way you can throw yourself out of a car and it's not hurt. But there is a way you can throw yourself out of a car and you get up and walk away. And that's what stunts are about, that you get up and you walk away and you haven't broken anything. It's knowing where to put the padding and how to roll and all those things. But if you're a working actor, I mean, I got basically, if you're in a series, you can't do stunts because you're too valuable. They need you for the next shot. So you always have to have a stand-in. But I did, as a young man, do stand-in stunts for other people, including Dennis Waterman on Minder. But it lasted a very short period of time. And I signed a contract to do my own stunts on Doctor Who. And I'm sure most of you have heard this story. But I stopped doing them when exactly what happened that shouldn't happen to a character in a series happened to me. I injured myself. In Enlightenment, I threw myself off the ship, and there's this thing called a Kirby wire, which is it's a leather thing that goes around a strap that side and a strap that side, and one up the back. And it's attached to a wire, and you throw yourself off, and Kirby wire have the rights to it. It is fitted to you by somebody from Kirby wire. And even if you're a professional stunt guy, you have to trust Kirby wire. It's their insurance, not your insurance. So they do it. And I threw myself off the ship, whoosh, 20 foot down, impacted and half the harness broke. And it was like jumping on a brick wall from 20 foot with your legs like that. Like just dropping onto a brick wall. For the next 5 or 6 weeks I couldn't walk properly. That's the least of my worries. But I mean, you'll notice there from that episode on. I mean, there's certain of that episode. I can't remember what the one was that followed it, but Turner doesn't move. He just stands there, and Turner couldn't move. Testicles as big as football.
I just have to say something about fencing on the strength of that. I had a problem with fencing, and that's that I couldn't get the mask over my glasses. So nobody wanted to fence with me at drama school because, of course, I was terribly wild because I couldn't see anything, so I never knew which bit I was hitting. So the boys would go, no, I'm not partnering Katie. No, we'll not be Katie's partner. So I got out of it by doing, you might see, I got out of it by doing the cartoons for the fencing magazine instead of actually fencing. And then when I had to do some on stage, it was great because I could actually see and do it. But I mean, if you think what it would be like with that, well, it's just a mask, isn't it? Yeah, it's just a mask. And with my very thick glasses underneath, there was just no way. And I love fencing.
Unarmed combat is great when you're teaching. I do a lot of teaching now. In fact, next weekend I'm in Narrabri teaching, I think. I find it's great when you're dealing with kids of under 10. And I was at another Tamm, Moree, which is in the news because of the Marmite decisions at the moment, teaching. And I got all these kids to do it. And we had a little demonstration for the mothers afterwards. And so, as part of this demonstration, I said, you know, to prove that the kids aren't hurting themselves, what we're first going to do is, and I got the littlest one, she was about 5, I said, she's going to beat me up, okay? And I got this fight, and it finished with me with my legs apart, where she was supposed to kick me in the balls, right? Yes, you see, I've got nerves of steel. She did the equivalent of a verbal drive. She forgot the last move, right? So I was there with all these sort of nice Moree mothers around, this little 5-year-old, and I was going, go on, kick me in the balls! Go on, kick me in the balls! She went, what? So it was a good finish. They enjoyed themselves, didn't they? I've always wanted to do an actually Doctor Who convention, because it is one of my specialist things. Just take somebody off into a room and teach you how to beat the shit out of each other. But it's great fun, because everybody else thinks you're doing it. Thinks it's real. I mean, come here, James, come here. You're going to do it to me. The whole point about fighting is that it's reverse energy. The person who is attacking is defending, if you see what I mean. But the energy comes on the pull away. So just very simply, if you punch somebody, the energy doesn't go in like that. The energy is out. Massive energy coming out. And the whole fight is reversed. So in other words, if she's going to grab me by the hair, and throw me about, she just puts her hand relaxedly on my head. And it relies upon the person attacking being as absolutely relaxed as they can be. And all the way down there, relax it. And then, you do this. That you bastard!
Where were you when I needed you 2 weeks ago? I mean,
So round of applause for Jack.
I always wanted to do that with you because it is actually great fun. You can it's a sort of party trick, you know.
I think we need you on the remove list because the whole of the second act was two people beating each other up. It's a wonderful play. And I also would like to know how to fall into a spa bath, right, without doing as much damage as I've done to my legs, which are already held together by metal. So I've discovered that I actually don't break anything, I just bend. So I now have a very crooked thigh. But there's no way you can actually do anything about that. You just have to fall, right?
No, you...
Now I'm told.
Even this is one of the problems of being an actor.
Fall off there. 8 times.
It's exactly the same thing. You have to look as if you're falling, but not fall.
But you've got to be in the
Right?
bath.
Well, you can get in the bath. But you must... what you do is, and one of the most important things is to be warmed up, right? I mean, how does a stuntman fall off a balcony, all right? Because I've done that stunt. How do you fall off a balcony? Well, you get pushed, yeah. They get a very big production manager and they go, "Go on, you bastard!" Push you off. Seriously, what you have to do is exactly the same as vocally. You must be warmed up vocally before you do a performance. You must be warmed up physically. And, I mean, can't do it just down on here. But if you're going to fall, you need to do all these sorts of exercises, just bending one leg and do that. So your back. It's constantly, so your back's warmed up and all bent. And then you must always fall artificially, and it's up to your acting skill to make it look as if it's a real fall.
Wait a minute, I'm giving you a real situation.
Yeah.
You're not answering my question. This is sorry.
Oh, no, it's great. So what's the situation? Yeah, you're in the middle of a play.
Now you've got a spa bath, right, with a lip on it,
Yeah.
that wide, right? And the line is something that you're certainly very clumsy. She says, "I am not clumsy."
Back into the spa bath.
Now she's sitting, so you've got to make sure when you sit, excuse me, you've got to make sure when you sit that you right back off that lip.
Yeah.
Right? Then you've got a deep spa bath which has got all these bumpy bits.
Well, it shouldn't have the bumpy bits in the bottom of it. I mean, this is it. Absolutely true.
Sorry, this man only does stunts when it's right. You know, obviously, that's a spa bath.
Yeah, no, but you can make a spa bath. Look, you can make a prop
No
spa
sponge,
bath,
because
right?
you have somebody having a shower just prior to it. So if you fall into it with the sponge is soaked, you come out wet as well.
Well, why can't you have a waterproof sponge? Oh no, this is it. Stunts take a long time to set up, and as a stuntman, you can't afford to go wrong, right? What a big constituent of stunt work is having props that look like the real thing but aren't the real thing. To the point of motorbikes actually fall apart when they hit the ground. The wheels don't stay on. So that motorbike can't keep moving. So that motorbike is disabled once it hits the ground. Now, I don't know if you've ever seen a Grand Prix crash with motorbikes, but the thing that kills, or one of the big injurers, is when the guy comes off the bike and the bike keeps going and lands on the guy. Right? That's the danger. Now, stunt bikes are so designed so that can't happen. They look exactly the same, but they're not exactly the same. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. I would have thought, I mean, I can't tell.
But it's very different when you're doing this on film and television than when you're doing this on stage, because I had to do not only that fall, I then had to do a fall across the stage. Now the easier part was walking in. That's not as difficult because I do it anyway.
I guess the only advice I've got is be fully physically warmed up, your whole body used to bending, and do it all the time every day. Yeah.
I'm just saying it's very, very different doing stunts on television and film than it is 8 performances a week
doing it like that, because I mean, like when the physiotherapist looked at my body, he said, nobody, but nobody does this to themselves. I said, have you ever met a hungry actor? I got such a good laugh. You know, I mean, you're going to do that. I mean, but it is true, isn't it, that when you're preparing to do a stunt for television or film, you can be that prepared. But you cannot, when you've got to do it in the middle of a show, you can't prepare very much. I mean, in terms of you're ready, you do the stunt. But one tiny bit off,
yeah,
you're just going to go.
It's his problem with live performance. It's a problem with teaching people stage fights. But they can be as angry as they want to until they get into that fight. Then the whole lot must go out the window. They must forget about anything to do with actors' motivation. And from the start of that fight until the very end, they forget completely actors' motivation. Because there must be absolutely no energy going into that wrong energy. And that's when it can get dangerous. That's a big problem for actors. How do you do it? Well, you just have to act it. But when you're acting without a sword in your hand, it's fine. You can actually feel anger against the person opposite you. But when you're acting with a sword in your hand, and you're supposed to feel anger, it must be complete pretense.
Try acting no pain, which I was trying to do. I would come up from the bar, and it would be like, the next line I would say, I hardly speak. And I mean, that took a lot of acting to look terribly jolly when I came up from this bar, because I was in such pain. I wish you'd been there. You could have helped me, Mum. No one else did.
Next question.
Your father used to do some watercolor painting. What was all those paintings?
Watercolour painting. Pattern watercolour painting.
Father was particularly artistic. He could do some beautiful pen and ink drawings as well. All the watercolours, as far as I know, with my other brother in Suffolk, who took that talent from my father and is an artist and an architect himself. They're all in Suffolk.
Next question.
This is Mark.
No, we'll come to you next, all right? And there's a guy in the front, all right? Don't worry. Yes.
This is Mark. I understand that you're doing a course in ecology in uni.
Well, yeah, ecology and zoology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself an environmentalist? Are you very active in that field?
Would I consider myself an environmentalist? No, I wouldn't. I would consider myself somebody who cares about the environment, but certainly I don't actually consider myself anything at the moment. I've got a personality crisis. 4 years of doing a science degree will have taught me how little I know about science. A bit like 10 years of being an actor has taught me how little I know about acting. I started to get the bare bones of acting after about 10 years. I certainly won't consider myself anything when I come out of 4 years of the degree. I consider myself somebody who cares about the environment. The thing I'm most worried about is that if you throw that down people's throats, they don't listen to you. That we must learn to care for the world, but I think that we also have to learn we live in a consumerist society, which we all want to live in. And you can't throw that. You're never going to change anything if you just say to people, look, you've got to go around dressed in sackcloth clothes and beating yourself with birch twigs. We're never going to get anywhere. I don't want to live like that. So, I care about the environment, but not an environmentalist. I think that sounds far too serious for anything I've ever likely to do with my science degree. Okay. The guy behind, yeah.
Mark, how did you feel about being the first sort of sinister or almost evil companion?
How do I feel about being the first sinister or evil companion? Well, a bit like Pat and his children following him. I had children fleeing away from me. Exactly the opposite. I get a bit withdrawn, actually. I remember a little kid literally running, screaming from me in a supermarket, scattering tins of cat food as he went. And you know, you'd go up and you'd say, look, I'm just an actor, and by which point they're going, and then of course you get into the thing, you know, what are you doing to my child? What are you doing? Look, I was just trying to be funny. Well, why is he doing that then, you know? But, you know. I can't remember the question. How did I feel? Oh, no, I loved loved it. I have never played nice characters, for better or for worse. That's not how people really saw me. I was never a Peter Davison. I spent my life having the shit beaten out of me or beating the shit out of other people. On 29th July, you see me in Police Rescue, playing head of the drug squad. And although I'm a nice character in that, I'm a real bastard of a nice character. So it was always a great source of distress to my mother, because first thing she says, "Mark, why do you never speak nicely on television?" Well, you see, I don't get cast in that sort of part, Mum. You know, playing National Front thugs and things. Any of you who saw me in GP, that was about half of the course. Scottish National Front thug. So it didn't bother me. I played so many horrible characters by then. Turner was actually quite nice for me, believe it or not. But it was a social problem. It isn't nice to actually walk down the street and have kids run screaming away. And actually, happened to me, I got my car into the garage. I was up in Leeds doing a play at Leeds Playhouse. After I finished on, I think it was after I finished on Who, or in a break. And I went into the garage, and they had, it was the third time my car had gone in, and they charged me 400 quid or something, 800 bucks, and I literally found a spanner in the engine. And that's why the thing broke down. They literally left a spanner inside the engine. So I went in on my 4th visit to this garage, and I said to the people there, I said, "If you are thinking of having your car repaired by this garage, can I advise you not to? This is my 4th visit." And the guy behind said, "He's always like this, he's always nasty on television." But I'm just being normal. If you spent 1,000 quid on your car and it's still in this state, can't you say that these things? But no. And that really hurt me, because and everybody agreed with him. This was the awful thing. So from then on I gave up, But yeah, it does have its problems, but I don't mind. I've got used to it now, and I like playing those characters. My mother still wants me to play vets, but there you go.
There was a comedian who was saying that people expect you to be funny all the time. And you may just be having, like I've had today, a really bad day. And so somebody sort of comes up and say, "Oh, aren't you so-and-so?" And you go, "Oh, yeah." Okay. They go away, they say, "Oh, he's not very nice. What a miserable so-and-so he is." Because and he's not funny. And it's awful, isn't it, to have that thing that you have to be either constantly funny. That's very true. A lot of comedians complain a lot about that. I just thought I'd share that with you.
Lady down the front.
Yes, Mark, you mentioned that you're as well, so I'm wondering what still go around.
It meant that me and music. Yeah, I spent last night at Sydney Opera House singing the third horn part of the Meister Singers, much to my girlfriend's irritation. My dad's a musician. I was brought up as a musician. I played the French horn, and that's what I'm qualified to teach, the French horn. But I never play it anymore. I sold it before I left England. It's an instrument which requires a lot of control with the lips, your embouchure, and unless you play it for half an hour a day, you're lost. And I gave up music. But I got into drama by writing musical scores for the National Youth Theatre. And my first job when I left RADA was writing the music for a theatre company, which is still, there are about 5,000 copies of in a garage somewhere in the north of England. So you see a remainder record with my picture on the back of it. It is the music that I wrote for those shows. Music now plays a large part of my life in that I listen to it a lot, but I don't write music anymore. I hope it'll play more of a part in my life again. But I guess you have to choose what you want to do. At the moment, my life is very busy doing a science degree, teaching, doing bits of television, and all those things, to the point where I never think I have any free time. So music now isn't a big part of my life. But I play the recorder. Believe it or not, at one of the American conventions I played a movement of a Baroque recorded concerto. So maybe before I leave Australia, if one of you can play the piano, if I'm invited to another convention, I'll play a movement of a recorded concerto for you, so that you can hear what one sounds like being played as well as practice. Good power.
Oh, there's one over there in the audience. Actually, if anybody's ever tried to play one of those things, they're one of the most difficult instruments you can ever begin with, let alone finish with.
I won't play anything, I'll just play your phrase. I'll just make it go along.
Watch the snake.
I did a show at Salisbury Playhouse called A Shepherd's Life, which I wrote lots of pseudo-folk songs for. That was sort of music. But I also played the concertina in. It only happened to me there. I was doing a convention in San Francisco. When I went over, I can play 8 songs on the concertina, all of which I wrote. That is my complete concertina repertoire. And I did 4 of them at this convention because I like to try and do other things. And they invited me to a folk song festival, and I found myself back in San Francisco giving my 8 songs at this folk song festival about 6 months later, and I spent the whole time at this folk song convention saying, "Oh look, I'm really tired. No, I don't think I really haven't got the energy to jam. No." Because they all get together and they play their instruments, and I could only play 8 songs, so unless they were playing my song, I was lost.
A song for Mark.
Gentleman in the red.
Yes, probably a question essentially to Mark, possibly to Haley as well. This problem of being typecast or finding yourself typecast, as an actor, if you want to get out of that mold, do you have to sort of let your agent or other people know that you would like to do that, or you just wait and hope? I'm sort of thinking of Derek Cole having been the nice and bumbling civil servant.
Was it Fox for a long time?
Now doing sergeant, somewhat a serving sergeant in Heartbeat.
Yeah.
I mean, was that something conscious on his part to say, I just have to hope for this?
With Derek, I mean, you want the answer about Derek? Because I can give you that. He's a friend of mine. He's very close friend.
Anyway.
Well, Derek spent so many years, he first of all had to stop being a fox. There was a program in England, and the sort of the end, it was absolutely brilliant. Basil. And so Basil, and when he was working in, I think it was the Young Big, and he was playing something like, I don't know, King Lear or something, and he got to the very end speech of the play, and suddenly the entire audience went, boom, boom! So Derek's had quite a tough time, because now he has to come out of that, and we now have to realise he's not a bumbling fool or a fox. But, I mean, I'll just answer, I mean, for me, I don't know, I've never been typecast. People don't know what to do with me. I mean, I really do. I mean, I came out of Doctor Who, and I went into, I played a drug addict. I played something else that was as far away from Doctor Who as possible. How can I describe it? I played a lady who, I like ladies. I mean, you know, and like I've just gone from playing a very myopic, very vulnerable, neurotic person. That was hard for me to play. And somebody knows me well. And now I'm going into playing probably one of the most unpleasant women I have ever played in my life. And so for me, it seems that I just seem to go in and out of lots of different things. So I guess I've just been lucky, or people don't know what the hell to cast me. So they keep giving me a different shot, you know. But I'll pass this on now. I'm just going to... God, it gets pushy, you know.
Good afternoon, Mary. I think Mary is doing really well. If you've ever done that trip to England and spent 30 hours on a plane, I mean, it is an absolute killer. What airline we got? Garuda. Garuda.
You were very brave.
They were great. They were great, actually. Great food, great ads. There's lovely costume. I mean, I wanted to buy one.
You sound like I do, and I have a phone.
We're answering a question on being typecast, Derek.
Oh, right.
I'll answer it and you'll get the hang of it, okay?
You answer it for me.
Mary being typecast, yes. Typecasting, it's never bothered me, and I actually have, particularly in England, where there are well, I guess anywhere, but particularly I think in England, where there are so many actors about, if you aren't typecast, I think you get lost. I think if you go out there thinking you're going to be an all-rounded actor and do lots of challenging parts, you're particularly dumb if you look at theatre and look at away from theatre and look at television and film, which is where I've spent most of my career. There isn't much room for acting in front of the camera. If you start putting the layers on, it doesn't look real. And we're more and more getting towards reality in acting. So I think if you try and pretend to be something when you go to a screen test or something like that, you won't get the job. And the most successful actors that I know of are, I guess, people like me who created an image of being a certain thing, so that when a part came up in a script, they thought, oh yeah, Mark Strickson would be good for that. Rather than my agent having to put me forward to things, for things. I mean, like the thing I've just done on Police Rescue, it's a very similar part, and it's a director I've worked with before, something else I did before. So maybe that part came up and she thought, yeah, no, Mark Strickson, yeah, he could do that part. So I think in this day and age, where so much of your bread and butter for so many actors is television, I think you've got to be prepared to be typecast. Well, yeah. What was for me? I mean, I basically, all my contacts are in television, and that's where I worked for many, many years, coming out of a soap opera into another soap opera, then into Doctor Who. All my contacts were in television, so I had difficulty getting jobs in the theatre, despite the fact I trained at RADA, and despite that's where I worked for the first 2 years.
Very unusual,
yeah.
isn't it, truly? I mean, because the average actor will tell you that his bread and butter is going to be in the theatre, and especially if you don't want to get typecast. I think it makes a big difference if you head towards theatre. Just out of interest, because that is an unusual way around. Theatre is usually an actor's mainstay. Just that, I mean, you...
Yeah, I mean, I would sort of beg to differ in some ways with that. when I left RADA, there were 139 repertory theatres. There are now 37. So, that's all that's left outside London, yeah. So if you think, I mean, in England, if you think you're going to be limited, I mean, certainly, I think, well, the BBC is the biggest employer of actors in the country. So, and the other television company, yeah, go for it.
I've just got to tell you this because I think it's funny. When I went back to London, my lady that used to clean for me, Mrs. G, says she talks like that. She lives in Dalston. She got this really funny voice. She said, here, Miss Kate. She said, haven't you got no actors over in Australia? She said, you've only got a few, haven't you? I said, why, Mrs. G? She said, well, over here we get all them soapies, right? And she said there can only be a few actors because they keep coming into the other soap as different people. She said he was a rapist last week, he's the vicar this week. And so she thinks that I'm living in this country with 6 actors. From soapy to soapy. And just made me laugh that, because I mean, the one thing you do see with English television is that when you watch it, you're looking at different actors all the time. But over here, they really do think we've got just a little group of them, and they just run around doing the soapies. So we got to get some more actors out here, all right? Because she don't like them same ones going back again.
Just talk among yourselves, please.
That was another question, yeah? Janice, you got anything to say on that one?
No, nothing at all, no.
Do you feel I typecast you in your classes?
Yes, totally. I'm singled out, yes.
Singled out for special treatment. Yeah. Another question, yes, kind of. Oh, hold on, all right, we'll go there and there. Sorry, now, it's fine.
Sorry, it's just in relation to what you were talking about the same people all the time. Have you observed how the same people appear as different characters in the same show?
I think you just answered your question. No! Sorry? I I got distracted. I'm terribly sorry.
What I mean, like, say, well, say all the Willis's in East Street, where you'll have someone who comes in and does a special bit, and then 2 weeks later it'll be the same person, but a totally different character from somewhere else in Australia, but it's still the same actor.
Can't make it in the same thing.
I mean, are you talking like when Rowena Wallace went out of Sons and Daughters, right? And was replaced by Rebecca Doofer, and apparently she'd had plastic surgery, right? But not only she had her face fixed, she'd had her height altered, and her voice box was completely changed. I mean, is that what you mean, that somebody comes in and takes over?
No, I mean, like, say, one time this person's a particular shopkeeper, and next time he might turn up as a milkman, but it's the same actor.
Oh yeah, that's what I was saying about Mom, Mrs. J.
Not changing from one show to the next, but it's all in one show.
I think we do that here, don't we? I think we actually do that here. If I've understood it. Anybody else? But you mean, do you mean actually employed to go back and play several different characters?
Play more than one part in the same story.
Well, I mean, or somebody that ages during the course of a show. Enough?
Next question.
Thank you.
Last question.
Jack never Bill White said it.
She wants to get the potty.
We just wanted to find out.
Question to the mark, if I can. You talked about Fergus Davidson before.
Excuse me. You probably didn't hear it, but there's a gentleman there who's just asking, could you come in after? Thank you very much. Sorry. He's gone. There he is.
I just wanted to find out if Janice has ever acted in television or film or...
Not professionally, no.
Not at all, not?
Just as an amateur.
With your father or?
No, never. No, leave it to the experts.
Okay, now the chap in the yellow and white, we go, yes.
Be quick.
Just to mark about, you talked about Peter Davidson before, and you said you didn't associate that much off the set. Was that because Peter was a little bit distant from the other members, or was it just because he associated with other people outside?
But no, it's because Peter was a very different person. I got on very well with Janet. Janet and I are quite sort of, what's the word? Close up the radio. Unfriendly. We sort of quite like, Peter seems to me to be a very private person, a very quiet person. I'm not necessarily quiet all the time, and neither is Janet. And the sort of things that Janet and I like doing, Peter didn't want to do. Well, like drinking together for a start. I mean, Peter's almost teetotal. Peter hardly ever has a glass of wine. He's a very, very quiet, very much into himself sort of person. So it was very. He wasn't distant, he was very nice. It was hard to get near him. Yeah, I mean, I never felt I was ever anywhere near Peter. I never felt that I could ever talk about anything personally to him. But he's just that sort of person. I mean, maybe he shares it for the people who are very close to him, right? I don't know. Very private person. Yeah. Question over here.
Okay. What was your favourite story?
What's your name? Chris. Thank you for asking me that, Chris. What was my favourite story? Actually, I've got three favourite stories. One was, and then there was mostly. No, I like the Green Death. Did I have? I remember that. And I liked, you know that one with. You know that one with.
It tells me that you particularly like the Damon.
That's the one, thank you. I was just trying to think about it. The Demons, the Green Death, and the very, very first one I did.
Terrible.
You got it. Yes, so those are my three. And out of those, no, they're all three the same. I like those. Why, do you have a favourite? No. Okay.
The last panel, everyone on the panel finished today.
Yeah, I actually answered this earlier, those of you who were here, and it must have been at least an hour ago, so I've forgotten what I said. But I think, yes, Android Zatara, that was it. Well done, we got a prize. That was my favourite because I got to play 3 characters, and it was summer, which is unusual in England. We got to... Yeah, we actually did, yeah. And we shot it. So that was why, that one was my... Oh, and I designed the costume, yes, that was the last reason. So that was my favourite.
I think you probably all heard me say this is my first story. 2 reasons. One, I had long lines. Second reason, I got to drive a vintage car. Great. Very good. Janice, how about yours? Now, this is it. Did you watch, now, when Pat was on Doctor Who, did you as a family sit down and watch it?
No.
No? Do you have a favourite story of Pat?
I can remember stories about people taking trousers off in the TARDIS, and when the doors opened they were actually seen standing in underpants. Which story that came from I do not know.
No.
This must be one of the ones they lost.
I remember all sorts of things happening in the TARDIS. Can happen in a cupboard. I mean, so much giggling and silliness.
That's right, and something had to make all those lights go on and off. I just think these fellows to my left and my right, the Daleks, I love them all. People seem to always think of my dad as a Dalek or a Dalek as my dad. And it was one of the ways I learned to spell exterminate properly at school.
Thank you all. And I think the next is the autography, isn't it? That's right. So it'll be a slight break so we can get ready for the autography.